They can run the football. So they're a multi-dimensional team, and they were able to beat both Colorado and Washington. So, running the football is key. Both of these teams take pride in their run defense. Very good secondaries on both teams, but the one-on-one matchups that USC creates causes a lot of trouble for both of these teams. So whatever team can take advantage and throw the ball well is going to have the success this week, tonight in the championship game.
Yeah, you look at this championship game, and it's pretty amazing how quickly Mike McIntyre turned around Colorado. I mean, the first couple of years, it was terrible. He's 2-25, I think, with the Buffaloes. But now here they are in the championship game against Washington, who everybody has positioned very highly all week. Sorry, your Washington State squad took a loss last weekend because they just were unstoppable. But is there a chance for Colorado to win this game?
There actually is a chance, and I know I go way back with Mike McIntyre. He was my position coach when I played for the Jets for a year in 2007. Very, very intelligent coach, comes from a football family, and he's a very strong preacher. He preaches to these kids, and they've really bought into what he's selling. When I got a chance to call one of their first games this year when they played Idaho State, and I got to talk to Mike McIntyre, and you can see in his eyes, that these players are bought into what he's selling. They're excited about football. They're playing a great brand of football, especially on the defensive side of things. So they've really bought in, and they really do have a chance to beat the University of Washington team if they can slow down their passing game. But that's a big if. But with defensive backs like Chido Awuzie, he's one of the top corners in the league. Does a great job. That should be a key matchup with him and the University of Washington receivers. So if they can slow them down a bit, then Colorado has a chance.
One thing that jumped out to me, and we've referenced it so many times because, when Colorado played Michigan, aside from the fact that it was a close game, everybody knows that, really into the midway through the third quarter, it was really close. But there were a few things that speaks, I think, to their discipline, Eric, that may very well serve them well tonight. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have many penalties. And really, in terms of time of possession, it was within 3 minutes. They were, within 3 minutes of Michigan. So to play with that kind of poise in front of basically 110,000 people in the Big House, it tells me that Colorado, even though they're a touchdown dog tonight, is not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. I mean, I don't think that the stage is – I think they're ready for it, I guess is what I'm saying.
I agree with you. And this team has a lot of veteran leadership. You start with their quarterback, Cepho Lufau. He's a redshirt senior who's done great things. He's a very calm and composed player, and his leadership kind of spreads throughout this team. On the other side of the ball, as I mentioned, Chido Awuzie. These are some players who have played a lot of downs for Colorado, who have helped bring them from the bottom all the way to the top. So they've been waiting for this moment their whole college career. So I don't think the moment's going to get too big. You talk about that Michigan game. They were right in the game until Cepho Lufau goes out. He's a dual threat. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball down the field. So, he's a weapon that's going to be tough to account for the University of Washington defense. And if he can have success, then Colorado has success.
We're talking to Erik Coleman, former NFL player, 9 years, and Pac-12 network analyst with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. I think there's certainly a portion of our audience that isn't overly familiar with the rosters. Of course, they know both teams are good. They know Washington, has been – they know the main storylines. I don't know if they know the personnel overly intimate. And I'm curious, not that this will decide the game, but when we're watching tonight, how many future pros are we looking at? Not inside the trenches necessarily, because that's kind of hard to distinguish anyway. Quarterbacks, star linebackers, pass rushing specialists, anybody that's going to be first-round talent. Who are we looking for tonight?
Well, I mean, you look at the University of Washington. Obviously, their quarterback position, they have a star in Browning. There's two wide receivers he has who definitely will have the opportunity to play in the NFL, play at the next level. As far as Colorado, Chido Awuzie, Philip Lindsay, a very good, patient running back who, I think that if he can get some size on him, he'll have the opportunity to play at the next level. So we'll see with him. They also have some burners. Shea Fields is a guy who is a deep threat for Colorado, who can score you deep. And like I know, speed kills, and you can't coach speed. So NFL teams would love to have the opportunity to get a speed demon like him on their roster. So there's a lot of talent. The Pac-12 is stacked from top to bottom with talented players. So especially at the skill position.
It's
the running backs, the receivers, the secondary guys. Those guys tend to transition well into the NFL.
Yeah, you talk about those skill position guys, and one of the guys on a team that they didn't underperform because they were 8-3, the Stanford Cardinal. But Christian McCaffrey is a stud. Do you think he translates on the next level in the NFL?
Absolutely. I think McCaffrey is one of those players. He's going to be. People will compare him to like a Danny Woodhead, but I think that he can do a lot more than what Danny Woodhead does.
He's faster. He's just faster.
He's a lot faster.
Yep.
He's more physical than Danny. Does great things returning the ball. He can run in between the tackles. He can create mismatches against linebackers in the passing game. He definitely has a bright future. And the thing that you worry about with him playing for Stanford is, he's their only player. He's their main guy on offense. Everyone knows he's getting the ball, and the question is, will he wear down, throughout his career? So, he seems to take care of his body well. Really good player. I think he's going to transition well over to the NFL.
Eric, you mentioned Woodhead and, you mentioned McCaffrey and Stanford. Obviously a down year for Coach Shaw, and he's just a great coach, as you well know. And we've seen so many pros, and not just Andrew Luck, but DeCastro, great offensive lineman, Kobe Fleener. There's just a lot of guys are in the NFL that played at Stanford. My question is this: if this was a vintage Stanford team, and we know it's not, but if this was a vintage one, would Washington or Colorado even have a puncher's chance against them, or is this kind of an outlier where Stanford is so down that this is just a unique season for somebody else to jump through the door?
I think that this is just one of those outliers. Stanford is definitely down at the skill positions. They don't really have those standout players. The quarterback hasn't developed yet into the passing machine that Stanford is used to having.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have that dual threat. So, having that run-pass relationship has always been huge for Stanford. They've always been a run-first team, but you have to be able to take advantage of that run game with some play action, and Stanford just hasn't had the players to do that this year. So they're building. They'll come back. They'll be at the top of the league next year, and I expect them to rebound.
All right, forget about the polls, Eric, before we let you go. Obviously, you're going to say Bama, and I would imagine, who are the four best teams? You don't even need to really expound. Just give us your top four teams, regardless of conference affiliation. Forget about seeds. Just give us the four best teams that you believe are in college football this season.
My four best teams, definitely Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I can't forget Ohio State.
Yep.
I think that you have to put them at the top. It's tough. It's tough with Clemson. They're a very young team, very, very good team. But I still like Michigan.
Yeah.
I still like Michigan ahead of University of Washington. But
wow, that's coming from a guy who who works Pac-12 Network. Interesting.
Yeah, but Michigan, they do it all. They have a great defense. They have playmakers, and they're really going to be a tough out if they get into the playoffs. So I know that Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, they're all going to be kind of, they're going to have their eyes on this game and be waiting for a mistake from one of these teams.
I know the Gators are 24-point underdogs. Can they at least hang around with Alabama?
No.
Just hang around.
No, I don't think they have a shot. Alabama's pass rush is fantastic. The pressure that they apply on defense and the weapons that they have on offense is tough to match up with this team. They're stacked from top to bottom.